Good afternoon, everyone. How's everybody doing? I hope everyone's doing well today. I just wanted to talk to you about a subject. I think the subject is, as far as I know, it's foundational for most Christian religion. It's the subject of original sin, meaning that we're born guilty of sin at birth. So let's get started. A baby born guilty. If you will, just imagine in your own mind, your own way of thinking, imagine a newborn baby sleeping peacefully in its mother's arms. The child has done nothing wrong, spoken no words, harmed no one, and has barely opened its eyes to the world. So beautiful. Yet, for centuries, many religious teachings have declared that this innocent child is already guilty, born into sin, and in need of redemption before it's even taken its first steps in this life. This idea is known as original sin. It has shaped the beliefs of millions of people throughout history. But when we pause and really think about it, a simple question arises. Can a newborn baby truly be guilty of anything at all? The doctrine of original sin traces back to interpretations of ancient religious texts, particularly the story of Adam and Eve in Genesis. According to the story, humanity's first ancestors disobeyed God by eating fruit from the tree of knowledge. Because of this act, their descendants were said to inherit a fallen nature, a condition that made every human being spiritually flawed from birth. Over time, this interpretation became a central teachings in the part of Christianity. Especially through the writings of theologians such as Augustine in the early centuries of the church. But it's important to recognize that the belief of the Bible itself does not present this doctrine in a single clear statement. Instead, the idea developed gradually through interpretation, theology, and debate. Supporters of the doctrine of original sin argue that it explains why human beings often struggle with selfishness, anger, and moral failure. According to this perspective, the flawed condition of humanity was passed through generations like a spiritual inheritance. Redemption, therefore, becomes necessary to restore the relationship between humanity and God. However, even within religious traditions, there always has been disagreement about how this concept should be understood. Some believes it means humans are born completely corrupt. Others see it simply as a symbolic way of describing the human tendency to make mistakes. For many people, the idea of inherited guilt raises difficult questions about fairness and justice. If a child is born already guilty because of actions taken thousands of years ago by mystical ancestors, does that reflect a system of divine justice? Or something entirely different? In most human legal systems, individuals are judged by their own actions, not by the mistakes of distant ancestors. When we apply the same reasoning to the concept of original sin, the doctrine can begin to feel a bit puzzling. Why would responsibility for one event be passed down to every human being who has ever lived? Doesn't quite sound right, does it? Regardless of how one interprets the doctrine, its psychological impact has been significant. Many people grow up believing that they are fundamentally flawed from the moment they are born. Instead of seeing themselves as naturally worthy or whole, they see themselves as inherently broken or guilty. For some individuals, this belief creates humility and dependence on faith. For others, it can create feelings of shame or self doubt that persist long into childhood and into adulthood. The idea that human nature itself is deeply sinful has shaped how many cultures understand morality, identity, and spiritual life. Interestingly, not all Christian traditions interpret original sin the same way. Some emphasize inherited guilt, while others focus on inherited consequences, such as living in a world shaped by human imperfection. Eastern Christian traditions, for example, tend to speak of ancestral sin, which emphasizes humanity's morality and struggle rather than moral guilt passed down from death. This diversity of interpretation suggests that the doctrine is not as simple or universally agreed upon as many people assume. Modern psychology and philosophy often approach human nature from a different perspective. Instead of seeing people as born sinful, many thinkers see humans as unfinished beings, capable of both compassion and selfishness, growth and mistakes. From this viewpoint, life becomes a process of learning rather than a struggle to escape inherited sin. Another way to understand the story of Adam and Eve is symbolically rather than literally. Some ancestors suggest that the story represents humanity's awakening into self awareness. The fall could symbolize the moment humans become conscious of right and wrong, gaining knowledge, but also experiencing moral struggle. If interpreted this way, the story becomes less about inherited guilt and more about universal human experience of learning, growing, and sometimes making mistakes. Ask the value of questioning. Asking questions about long held beliefs does not necessarily destroy faith. In many cases, it deepens understanding. Throughout history, philosophers, theologians, and spiritual teachers have examined doctrines like original sin from many angles, trying to reconcile ancient teachings with reason, compassion, and experience. When people explore these questions honestly, they often discover that spiritual truth is far richer, far more complex than simple formulas. A different way to see humanity. Instead of beginning life under a cloud of inherited guilt, some traditions suggest a far more hopeful starting point. That human beings are born with enormous potential. We are capable of kindness, creativity, curiosity, and growth. Yes, we make mistakes, but mistakes are part of learning, not proof of permanent corruption. From this perspective, spiritual life becomes less about escaping condemnation and more about awakening to the deeper responsibilities of ourselves. In the end, the question of original sin may reveal something larger than humanity's search for meaning. We are fundamentally broken creatures struggling to redeem ourselves. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Are we fundamentally broken creatures struggling to redeem ourselves? Or are we evolving beings learning how to live with wisdom and compassion? Different traditions often offer different answers, but the willingness to ask the question itself is a powerful step toward understanding. Perhaps the most important principle in any spiritual exploration is compassion. Whatever one believes about original sin, the image of peaceful newborn child reminds us of something profound. Life begins with innocence, possibility, and wonder. Whether we interpret ancient teachings literally or symbolically, our understanding of spirituality should ultimately lead toward greater wisdom, kindness, and respect for the divinity of every human being. And maybe that is the deeper truth worth discovering. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Have a great day. Bye.